Hello, welcome to a Baelnorn stream. Hopefully the sound is working. I have not streamed solo in like 2 years. Anxiety is a real thing. Alright, so this stream, my goal is to make a town. I'm working on a new project called Embermoor, in the Canterfell region is the region that we're going to be calling it. Don't have too many plans for this region yet. I know that I want to have it have a mineral deposit, and that's about it. So most of it's going to be done through spectacular settlements. Awesome, sounds good, awesome. So most of what we're going to do is roll up a town using Spectacular Settlements by Nordic Games. It is my favorite random resource for rolling up and getting ideas for content. So just going to look through the book a little bit here, just kind of show you what you can do with it. We're going to be focusing on towns, but we can do, let's see if I can get to the table of contents. Yeah, a whole bunch of things. You can do a trading post, villages, towns, cities, capitals, fortresses. Yeah, and it's pretty comprehensive. I use it kind of like a writing prompt, get the bones, the structures of something that I don't really have any specific details about, and it just kind of like springboards my imagination and gets my imagination going to flesh out the content. So we're going to be doing a town. Oh, that is. Here we go. So what I like to do is that the company provided sheets, so it's going to be like this, little edible PDFs to like keep the information as we're rolling along. I don't have a dice cam. I didn't set that up for this time, although I might do a dice cam later. So yeah, this is where we're going to keep the notes. Then after we roll, we put in the information on this PDF. Then I'm going to open up my Word document here and fill in the other information. It's mostly for keeping notes. As I was saying, there's a few things about this town that I know I already want. One, I want to be farming / resource gathering, so a magical mineral that is used in enchanting. Environment, I know I want to be near forests, mountain hilly regions. It's usually what I go for. Let's see, prosperity. On the table, I want at least a 5 to 20, which when we get there, that will make sense. But those are the roll ranges that I want for it. As to the resources, again, we're going to be doing magical mineral. Then there's a whole bunch of stuff: visitor traffic, night activity, demographics, disposition of the town, whole bunch of stuff. And then for commercial locations, I want to have at least one trinket magic shop. That they use the byproduct of the processing plant for the magical material to do some enchanting, and they sell it in the town. I think that what I would like to do is have this town kind of be a kind of like a farming town or something like that, that just happened to have found mineral deposit, and it'll be in the middle of a boom, depending on the stats that we roll. For the depending on the stats for the room, or depending on the stats for the, oh my goodness, I have dry mouth. Depending on the stats of the town will determine kind of like where in the process they have found the mine in their timeline. And oh, by the way, this is supposed to be interactive. It is a stream after all. So if anyone wants to chime in with any ideas or anything like that, or any questions during the stream, please do. Let's see here. Yeah, I guess we can just get into rolling up some the town. Oh, another resource that I'd like to point out is let's see. Oh, that is not the resource I wanted to point out. I'm terrible with making names, so we'll be using the fantasy name generator, the most iconic name generator there is on the internet, to come up with names for locations and stuff like that. That's where I got the name for the town to begin with. Or the region, Canterfell. I don't even think I have a name for the town yet. And you'll have to excuse me, I'm getting used to using my sources and stuff like that, and switching back and forth between the various different scenes. Not scenes, the various different PDFs and Word documents and whatnot. All right, so origin. It's kind of like where the town came from. Why was it created? There's lots of different options. Lots. There are 8 options: accidental, decree, exodus or exile, crossroads, military camp, a port. We might allow a port. That'd be interesting. They would have to have a river or an ocean or a lake or some body of water. Then there's also rapid, just fueled by ambition, strong will, and perhaps access to a certain excellent products or resources. A group of people set their minds to creating this town. Or a steady, steady, which is just like a slow period of time where it just naturally increased. So I have no preconceived notions about the origin of the town. So I guess I'll roll a d8 and see what we get. I got a 4. So key crossroads. All right, the town was established on a crossroads frequented by travelers from all over. I gotta put that in the stats here. So usually it takes a couple rolls for me to really get the creative juices flowing, but as soon as there's a couple different points of lore to pull from, then I will be able to generate more ideas and we can work on some notes. So what's the town's top priority? Let's see, there's military, government, production, economic, religious, magic. Some of these I don't really like. I really don't want to have be military. And I don't really want it to be government. So I'm going to roll a d6 and I will reroll 1s and 2s and see what we get. Religious will be interesting if we get that. I'm not sure what I'll do with it, but it is not what I originally intended when thinking about this town. But I can work with that. I got so many gods and goddesses that I've created for the Shattered Kingdoms that I can pull from something and make it interesting. 2. Government. Reroll. 1. Military. Reroll. 3. Production. Town prioritizes generation and movement of resources, which will fit perfectly with a farming town that eventually turned into a mining town. Just gotta add that to my notes. All my notes. All right, so now every town has a specialty in this book, at least. So there's crafting, farming, industry, unique shipping methods, connections, drinks, education, hospitality. Yeah, it could be any of these, except I already know that I want farming and resource gathering as the specialty for this town. So no need to roll on that. And I've already filled in the +1 to farms and resources roll, didn't I? Yeah. I think I pre-filled it in before I went live. Just filling in my notes. Yeah, I pre-filled that in. So now the question is, how old is this town? Don't really want it to be recent. So anything other than recent will work well, I think. Because you can go all the way from recent all the way up to ancient, where it's hundreds or thousands of years old, however old you want it to be, really. So that's when it starts being interesting, because you can just make this long history of a town. And when you're dealing with like fantasy races and there's like different age lengths, like humans versus elves, like is this an elven town or a human town? It'll make a pretty big difference if it's an ancient town and it's a human town, because then there's been multiple generations of humans that have lived through the town. If it's an elf town, a lot less generations, maybe not even a full generation has lived through the existence of this town that's still been around for a couple hundred years. But we're not going to do an elf town, I don't think. Alright, so D10. And we're going to reroll 1s and 2s. At a 5. It's a mature town. Plus 0 to population density, so I don't got to fill anything there. So the town's been around for decades, and maybe it's developed some sort of reputation depending on its community, location, and what goes on in the town. It's a very middle-of-the-road option, I'd say. So size. I have not determined what size I want this town to be, so we will definitely be rolling on this, but it will make a difference to how I view the town. Yeah, I was just double checking to make sure I didn't fill it in and forget. Alright, so I don't really care what size this town is. It can be from very small to just like able to support about 1,000 people, or it could be very large and able to support up to like 8,000 people. It could be anywhere in between. It's a simple D20 roll. Eight. Another middle-of-the-road option, medium. 1,000 standing structures in an area able to support to 4,000 people. So it's a decent-sized town. And I will determine the exact amount of people at a later date. I think there's a section for population density, and that will help determine how many people are in town. So here we are now going to decide the condition of the town. Is it derelict? Is it lousy, moderate, robust, or even superb? That will determine the population wealth later on. So some of the roles do change future roles. So it's not just static, and it's kind of interesting that way. It helps create more diversity in output. So I got a 13. So it's pretty robust. Buildings in the town appear solid. Beams protruding from structural walls look to be sturdy and hard-wearing, while possibly lacking in true refinement. The town bears a strength and sense of reliability. Roads are maintained, and though not obsessed over, and are largely free of refuse and filth. The smells are the smells are those of smoke and sawdust, leather, and sweat. That's a +3 to population wealth. Let me fill in my notes really quick. So this kind of leads into the idea that this is like a farming village that was probably doing fine. Nothing catastrophic. They're probably doing well. But when they found the mine, they increased their wealth, so they're more robust, so to speak, a little bit more wealthy. So let's go down to population wealth. Condition is a +3 to that modifier. Oh, yes. I think I'm missing a step here. No? All right. Environment, forest. Already picked that one out. Environment, forest. I'll probably still have it be near a water source, obviously. Every town needs some water. So now this is tied to the prosperity is tied to the town's success. This will be interesting. I don't really want it to be an abysmal failure. So if I get a 1 of a d20, I'll re-roll. This could dramatically change how we view the town. $11. Another middle of the road answer or option. So mildly successful, the town has attained a mild degree of success and stability. That's a -1 to visitor traffic and a -3 to population wealth. Let's come down here. Population density. Oh, visitor traffic. My bad. -1 to that. -3 to prosperity, which basically makes it a flat 0 roll for our population wealth when we get to it, because the condition increased it by +3. I almost never use the market square roll. I'm going to roll it. We're going to figure out what it is, but I rarely come up to any kind of content related to the market square and what I roll here. But it doesn't hurt to have it, just in case it jogs some ideas out of your some ideas. D6 2 tight. Only room for a few key vendor stalls. And then merchant overflow, because it's so tight, it's going to have some merchant overflow. Gonna roll a d4 to see how the town deals with that. Oh my goodness, my dice. Oh yeah, I plan on just using it for D&D. I'm creating it system agnostic, so it can really go to any high fantasy style game. But hopefully, I'm making a series of videos about world creation, and this is kind of like just the stream that's getting the idea solidified, and I'll probably be pulling videos from the streams over the course of this year. It's just kind of like a background year project I have. I would like to create a town with a region where there's adventure hooks, a couple factions, a town history, government, some culture, stuff like that. Then, ideally, after I get all that written up and I have a rough draft of it, I'd love to actually put it into a PDF and post a design or a final product somewhere for people to download if they want to. It's just I wanted to have a fun project to do over the year. and try to integrate it into the content creation sphere. Because I do this infrequently behind the scenes just for fun. So I figured I'd try to do it for content. So 2 for the merchant overflow. Unpatrolled, excess vendors are allowed to set up stalls, but as the town guard do not patrol or monitor these areas, the risk is higher. So basically, in my mind, I see them having a small town square where there's some constant stalls by typical vendors that go there that have been going there for years, and then other vendors, as the town has grown, have come along and they now have to set up just outside of town, and so there's actually a market outside of the town. That's how I'd view it. All right, fortifications. I didn't really envision this town having fortifications, but I can go ahead and roll some up, see what happens. Because that could determine something about the town, because if they have fortifications, they have to have had a reason for needing those fortifications, which will lead to us determining what kind of threats are in the area, what threats were in the area, or what threats they envision will be in the area. So I'm going to roll a d20. 17. First high roll of the day. So this farming town turned mining town is heavily fortified. It has a heavy wall of wood or stone with several watchtowers built along its length. The gate is double thickness and reinforced with metal bands. There are additional watchtowers built at various points throughout the surrounding countryside. Oh my goodness. They are ready for battle. So that is a +5 to disposition. There we go. There's a little note here, suggestion: if your town has substantial fortifications, you might consider adding a fortress, whether it be a keep or castle or stronghold. And they have a roll. There's a chapter 7. They have some random rolls for creating a fortress. I might do that for this city, now that it's heavily fortified. Why not have a keep or something, right? So that's the basics out of the way. Let's see what they actually call this part of the chapter. I forget. Yeah, just basic information. Alright, so we got that. So now I'm going to go back and kind of look at what we have done so far before we get into the next section of the community. So I'm going to bring up my Word document so we can work with some notes here. I didn't transfer all the notes. Alright, so the origin, we have a crossroads here. The town was established on a crossroads frequented by travelers from all over. So I'm kind of going to say that the town kind of just, it became a natural stopping point along the way. let's say that it developed as a crossroads inn. In fact, the oldest thing in the village or this town will in fact be an inn called the Crossroads Inn. And that will be kind of like the founding origin of the tale. But eventually, as it grew, people started moving there. People started setting up merchant shops at the crossroads. People started living there to supply the inn, and just snowballed into a building, and snowballed into a town that was built up around crossroads. Just a natural stopping point along trade routes. Let me type that out on my notes really quickly. Crossroads Inn is the first building the town developed as a stopping point along trade routes. Let me see, what was the age? But sure, this town has been around for decades and may have developed some sort of reputation depending on its community, location, and what goes into the town. So if I was going to keep with the role, it'd be less than 100 years old. That's fine for a human town, I guess. Well, Shattered Kingdoms, because this is going to be set in the Shattered Kingdoms as the default setting. Since the world broke apart, it's only been a couple hundred years. Let's roll a percentile die, see what I get. $83. So we're going to just go ahead and say this town's 83 years old. It's not too old of a town, really. I know they say it's mature, but that doesn't seem very mature for a fantasy setting. So the size is medium, which is 100,000 standing structures and 4,000 people. I don't have anything really to note about the size, but I will write in the notes that it's 1,000 structures and up to 4,000 people. When we work on the community a little bit, there's a section called population, which will help determine how many people fill up the town. Alright, the condition of the town is robust, so they've spent decent money. I think we're going to say that they went through a building boom. I think for determining the population, determining the population wealth will help determine how long ago that boom was or how the boom affected the town. So the town is robust. A lot of the buildings are newer. There was an influx of population when they found the mines. Environment, forest. Don't have much to say about that. Alright, let's see. Prosperity. Moderately successful. going back through the book to look what prosperity. Mildly successful. It's attained a mild degree of success. Let's say the prosperity is solely because of the mine. But there is a budgeting. I do not know how to spell. A budding merchant. No. A budding magical craft scene. Fortification. Let's see, what was the exact wording of that? Heavily fortified. Alright, so it's heavily fortified. I think I want a stone wall. Stone wall, multiple towers. I'm gonna roll a d6 to see how many watchtowers there are around the region. 6. All right, 6 watchtowers around the region, and 1 fortress slash keep slash castle. Now the question is, do I want to say that these fortifications are new? And that a lot of the money they got from the mine went into building these because there is some sort of existential threat to the area? Maybe once they found the mine, they found out that they are actually important, in one of the local nations have threatened to invade the town and take it from the kingdom that it currently belongs to. Well, there's options, but they have to have some reason. Check out Mappa Imperium if you haven't. It is my favorite world builder for TTRPGs. Most of the time, this is our session 0 to get player involvement and investment in the world. I have not heard of that. I'll have to check that out. Let me write that in my notes. So when you're doing that session 0 with the Mappa Imperium, what kind of stuff are you like creating to get the players involved in the world? I've never really done any kind of session 0 world creation with players. The most extensive work with players I've done is backgrounds, and then very few of the players want to work on backgrounds with me for the world stuff that I do. So there's very few instances of player and GM world building together in my experience. So it's cool that that's something that you do. All right, so we're ready to move on to the community aspect. It's similar to what I'm doing. Roll dice and plug it into tables as a basis for roleplay, but it's building nations and people. Then it grows through eras of history. Interesting. I'll definitely have to check that out. That sounds exactly like something that I'd want to do. So do you basically make a new setting every time you play with your players? The players get to build the world with you. They each are in charge of a part of the map and build it up. That sounds fun. I would like to play a game where the game master does that with me. That's for sure. All right, population density. The town, it can go between skeleton, which is basically barely enough people for it to function, to all the way up to crowded. Town is filled with jostling throngs. Practically all structures are occupied. Some may even camp outside. Moving about can be difficult, and bumping into other people is typically in higher traffic areas. So this will help determine what our population is in my mind with how I use it, because I could just say there's 4,000 people there and the density is like super dense. Or I could say that it's not dense. I guess those are options. But like, if I roll like skeleton, then I'm going to have a small population rather than a large population. I consider the population density more about population overall rather than the density of the population in the town. So roll a d20. 6. Sparse. Folk live here, but it would never be called bustling. Walking down the street, you typically only see a few people. I don't know if I like having a deserted town like that. I'm gonna reroll. 9. Good enough. Populous. A moderate amount of people live here. Walking through the streets, you'll see plenty of people, but never so many that it would feel cramped. Very middle of the road option, which is fine with me for this. So population overflow. There are often times when the demand for space within the town exceeds the capacity. This leads to population overflow, where people who would have liked to live in the town but aren't able to establish themselves outside of it, either in camps or small adjoining neighborhoods. Roll below to see percentages. So that's going to be a d20. 7. A 10th. Oh. A 5th of the town's population is outside the town proper. Wow. I don't know why my PDF reader is going zonkers, but it is. Alright, that's better. Oh, I gotta put on my notes here on my Word document. All right, so now I've kind of got an idea with the population density and overflow, that I can kind of give an idea how many people I want to live, where I want to live. It's usually about when I try to figure it out. So I think I'm going to say there are, let's go with 3,500 people, roughly. And it fills in the town, so it's most of the people live in the town, but about 20% don't, which is math. So 20% of 3,000 is, we're going to do roughly 600. So those are probably going to be the farmers that live out around the area farming. Yeah. Oh, I got some notes for this. All right. So population notes. Let me go back to the Word document here really quick so I can write this out. Population notes. Heading. So let's say 3,500 people live in or around the town. About 3,000 live in the town, and around 500 live in the surrounding farmsteads. I'm going to say that a lot of the farmers are more the longer-term residences here. So farming has been a mainstay, and the farmhouses are some of the older houses of the town. When the mining boom came in, a lot of people moved into the town proper for facilitating the mining of the resources and the production of the resources. So a lot of the buildings of the town itself are going to have been more recently built, I would say. I'm not going to give a time frame for it, but I was thinking within the last 10 to 20 years, this mine was opened up and started being worked on. So the boom started within the last 15 years or so. And I'm going to say is slowing down. So yeah, that's notes about population. All right, moving on to some farms and resources. I already kind of know what I'm doing with this. Might do some rolls, we'll see. So I know we have, oops. I know we have to have magical mineral as 1. So the town was medium, I think, so that's 2 rolls. So I guess we already know what we want for those. Farming, agriculture. Well, no, let's roll a D2. We'll see if it's livestock or agriculture. Got a 9, so that's odds. So that's 1. So farming, agriculture. There we go. Resource 1. Magical mineral. Resource 2 is farms. All right, so now I'm gonna get a grip on what kind of traffic they get going through town. I'm gonna go ahead and roll a d20. Oh my, 18. Masses. Huge groups of people always seem to be visiting. Congestion could cause difficulties if the town is unable to cope with very large amounts of people. And I think this works really well with the crossroads idea, where they're kind of like in the middle of a trade route. So yeah, this town could just be a... beforehand, it was, rather than what I was originally doing with a farming town, I think maybe I might change it a little bit, that this town was originally more of a merchant stop, kind of lean into that crossroads like I was talking about earlier. And so a lot of the core building of the town itself will be to facilitate trade and moving of resources from out or through the town. So we'll have a larger collection of inns and taverns, and maybe more stalls, more area for merchants to house their merchant trains. Yeah, might have some warehouses, because since it's a key location on the trade route, some places or some merchants might want to use it as a place to hold some of their goods so they can transfer them back and forth for an easy flow. Some ideas here. Got to put that in my Word document too, where I give him my notes for my creative notes. So let's see, visitor traffic. Note that this means the town grew up facilitating a trade route due to the crossroads and continues to be an important city along the routes. All right, let's move on to... Oh, +4 night activity. That's important. It's probably going to be in a wild town. Just watch it. It's going to be crazy. Night activity. All right, I got a +4 to this roll because of the population or the visitor traffic. So it's a D20. Minimum quiet. It will not be dark. Let's see how wild this town can get. +10 +4. It's not very wild. It's a 14. Make sure I didn't miss any other modifiers. Oh, I guess the modifier was visitor traffic, not population density. Population density was 0. So, night activity, not that great. Almost everything is closed except for taverns, which may be open until early morning, and inns, which stay open perpetually. If the town has a gate, it is closed, but guards will generally be ready to open it as needed. So it's very basic. Not too crazy. I use this more to kind of like the atmosphere of the town when I'm developing it. Just kind of gives some idea what to tell the players when they go to the town. But I also use it to inform some of the choices I make when what town or what buildings are available in the town. Alright, back to the PDF. That's not the PDF. That is the PDF. Alright, demographics. I had no real ideas about who would be inhabiting this build or this town. I just assumed humans. Humans always are the staple. But I like to roll in demographics to see what other races could be present. So let's roll a d20. I've never really rolled a 100% primary race before. Four. Well, I have now. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Primary race, humans. That's not to say that there aren't some other races that live in the town. It's just so minuscule. I would say under 10%. Just random people. Disposition, general attitude towards visitors. This is also something I use more for the flavor of the town when I'm rolling some of the lore for it, or when I'm writing roleplay notes for game masters that are using my material. 10. Neutral. They're a little standoffish. I'm not sure if I really like that with how the town's been England for, because this is a highly trafficked town. No, I guess I'll leave it neutral. That could add some conflict to the narrative. Oh, fortification +5. So that's 15, friendly. All right, there we go. I feel more confident about that. Locals are generally friendly, welcoming, and slow to take offense. Okie dokie. Moving on to leadership. So I had no idea how I wanted to have the government of this town run. There are a lot of options. I get to roll a D100. It says town council, mayor, hereditary, merchant, monarch. I got that once. That was fun. I made up a merchant oligarchy, actually. It was interesting. Merchant monarch. Military rule. oligarchy, underworld, or criminal enterprise, syndicalist commune. I've never rolled a D100 or 100 for this before. All right. 48. What's that? Merchant Monarch. Wealthiest shop owner in the town leads by default. Should be interesting. Maybe those fortifications aren't there for fighting other governments. Maybe it's to fight a merchant war, a merchant trade war or something. Kind of like that idea. I'm just going to type in my word notes here. Leadership. Maybe there is a merchant trade war that is... And that is why there is fortifications. Maybe this town is ran by a conglomerate of merchants. Yeah, I think it'll be fun to get into the government and tinker with that at a later stream when we get into the government section specifically. All right, let's do some law enforcement. +2 to my commercial locations. I gotta write that in somewhere. Alright, so I'm going to get and roll in my law enforcement. With it being heavily fortified and there being watchtowers and stuff, I can't see it being anything smaller than a town watch, minimum. So I'm going to go ahead and roll D10 instead of a D20 to go from 10 to 20. Eight. So that is a strong town watch. The watch is run by a seasoned captain with 2 lieutenants, a few corporals, and an ample quantity of boots on the ground. Presence allows for extra patrols and well-established guards. I was really leaning into the gearing up for some kind of fight, I think. That's a +4 to crime roll. +4. Alright, now we get to determine how rich are the people that live in this town. I'm fine with any of them. I don't really like destitute. That really makes it, I guess it would make it interesting, I guess. So I'm going to roll a d20, see what I get. $14. Do I have any modifications to this roll? Yes, a +3 and a -3. So, average. Most of the town's population have enough to live a modest life. Those without are a minority. Seems fine with me. Life's fine. No change to the crime roll. Alright. So now we're rolling for crime. I have a +4 from law enforcement. So at the minimum, it will be common crime. There will not be regular crime. I rolled a 10, got a 4, average. Theft or mild violence can happen from time to time. Best to keep an eye out. And I don't keep track of urban encounter rolls. I think it's silly. I don't need to use them. It's just... I can make my own tables for that. Alright, so there's that section. I'm going to go ahead and look back at the section that we just did, the community section, to walk us through the summary of what we've done so far. Let's come back here. All right, so visitor traffic, huge, lots of people visiting all the time. And it could be hard to deal with the congestion. So let's say, as I noted, this means that this town grew up facilitating a trade route due to the crossroads and continues to be an important city among routes. I'm not sure how to tie that in with slow night activity. I guess there just isn't a lot to do in the town other than inns and taverns. I guess you could say a lot of people want to move on. It's just a stay over the night kind of place. Demographics, 100% human. I am positive that I'll have non-humans in this town, but they will be uncommon, and they are just generally friendly. Yeah, leadership, merchant monarch. There's a merchant. I'm thinking there's a merchant consortium. No. I know. Let's say the first person to found the Crossroads Inn now has their family as the monarch of the town. Let's say this person grew the town from a simple tavern / inn into a major stop over for trade. He then cornered the market and bought into... No, not he didn't corner the market. He started his own trading company based in this town. Ooh, here's interesting. Could I just make it a long-lived race? Because this is an 83-year-old town, so it was founded 83 years ago. If it was a human that founded it, then he's about dead if he didn't die already. So I can make it any other of the stereotypical races. Elf, obviously, a dwarf, interestingly, a gnome. I like gnomes. Any races really fit in the Shattered Kingdoms that are standard. I'm just going to say a long-lived race. I also starting to develop wildling races for Shattered Kingdoms, like anthropomorphic animals, basically like a Loxodon. For example, let's say this monarch is long-lived. So we got some things coming into focus here. Kind of how the town was founded. So was really, I think, enough note here to really hook me into building out something there. It'll give me something interesting for the history of the town. And I can deal with trade routes and trade consortiums and stuff like that. And it can open up an interesting political type of adventure for adventurers in the area. Stronger watch. It goes very well with the strong fortifications of people to actually maintain the defense of the town. Population wealth, it's average, so I'm going to say the merchant monarch does fairly well and make sure the population is well treated. They get their livelihood is secured. Crime, average, don't got much to say about that. So yeah, it's an interesting effect of the community section. I think we got some good stuff here. So points of interest is the next section. And I kind of like them. I roll them. I don't really necessarily flesh them all out because it's a lot of random crap that you roll. So non-commercial locations. I think the town was medium, so there's 3. Put that in the... Oh, I should put it back on the PDF. Bam. Alright, non-commercial location type. Roll a d4, and I get a roll that's 3 times. Two, place of gathering. Three, place of government. One more. Two, another place of gathering. I want something different. I'm just gonna pick. No, even. I'll go place of worship, odd, place of education. Odd, place of education. Alright, so after I roll those places, then we go down to the individual sections. See, I got place of education. This is a D4. So let's figure out what kind of educational place they have there. 2. An archive/library. Alright, next place. Place to gather in. We got one of those near the D4. 3. Gathering Hall. And a place of government. Another D4. 1. Chancery. Used as an official office for documentation and administration tasks. I think that will work very well with the merchant stuff as being a center for this town. Didn't get a place of worship, so I'm not going to roll for that. Alright, I think we're done with non-commercial locations. Commercial locations. This is the one where you roll a bunch of stuff and you find that there's a bunch of stuff you don't need to flesh out. But we'll roll them because fun. So commercial locations, medium 8. If you're a merchant, plus 2 commercial locations, so that's 10 locations. Oh my. We are going to be rolling for a bit. Alright, so we got to roll 10 times a d6 to determine how many shops and services there are. Alright. D6. 5. 1 service. 4. 2 services. 5. 3 services. 4. 4 services. Not gonna be any shops here. 4. 5 services. 6. 6 services. 1. 1 shop. 1. 2 shops. 4. 7 services. 6. 8 services. Oh my. I don't know what this is going to look like. So, 2 shops. And 8 services. So there's a lot of shops, but let's see, it automatically starts with a general store and a smithy. I want a magic shop, so let's write in magic shop trinket. So 3 shops, 7 services? There we go. Alright, so shops table. Done. Services. D100 time. This could make it a very interesting town. Not your typical town, I would say. First town shop or service is a 10. So a bathhouse. So they have a bathhouse here. That's nice. Next one. 11. Another bathhouse? Dueling bathhouses? $65. Stable. We needed a stable. We were going to put in stable anyways. Probably put in a couple stables. $84. Hired help. Cloak and dagger. That's always fun. Get some assassins going. Next one. 31. Which is House of Leisure. Provides entertainment or relaxation. You know, I'm going to re-roll that because with the town activity not really staying open very late, don't really want to have a House of Leisure. They got bathhouses. 69. Nice. Tavern. I don't know how many more I'm supposed to roll, but I'm rolling another one. 36. In. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. One more than I needed, but we need more stables. I can always add whatever I want to, I guess. It is my town. Let's see, dueling bath houses. I kind of like that. Stable. Let's do 2, 1 for each side of town. Looks good. Quality, not going to roll that. Hired help size. I will roll that. So a D12. Two. Individual person. So cloak and dagger. 1 person. Small for a town this size. Ah, yes. Recent history. This is the extra entry. I roll this sometimes. I don't always roll it. So I'm going to roll it just for funsies. Recent history. D8. 4. Asleep. Working hard or hardly working. One of the guards manning the main gate was found asleep at his post. You can always use that for something. When we get to the hooks and adventure stuff. Way down the road. Alright, let's roll for some noteworthy office official. D8. 8. Master of Stores. Oversees the town's stores of supplies such as grain or building materials. Fun. But what is their competence level? D6. 2. He's incompetent. That's unfortunate. Market day events, don't really need those. So what's next? Interesting NPCs. Yeah, that's the end of the chapter. We successfully did it. We have rolled for Embermoor. The town has been created. Well, the framework for the town has been completed. So yeah, let's look at some of the notes here that we got from the location, from the points of interest. So we got a gathering hall, a chancery, and an archive library. The chancery and library could end up being one and the same, but I probably should make them separate buildings. General store, smithy, magic trinket shop. I think the fact that the shops are less than the number of services is right on brand for this town, because a lot of it is just thoroughfare. People just coming through town, so they need to take a bath after traveling for a week on the road, or they need inns and they need taverns to keep people fed and entertained. And they need stables to stable all the merchant trains that are coming through. And I'm going to be using this hired help cloak and dagger person as some kind of intrigue for the town, for sure. I'm going to definitely have a criminal element now that there is a cloak and dagger person, and we will flush that out at some point. They'll probably be running some kind of business, and then under the table, they will be doing the cloak and dagger stuff. It's usually how I go. And extra intrigue. The only thing that really got me thinking is the master of stores is an incompetent person, which is unfortunate because they are building up a facility to withstand a siege, and he's incompetent. So that sucks for the town. That is an interesting note to put into the packet. So the next stream, off stream, I think I'm going to work on codifying, solidifying some of these ideas, put it in a format where it's more easily accessible for me, and ordered in such a way that I can jump off from there. I'm not going to do too much brainstorming. I'm just going to get some notes so we can work on fleshing out the different sections of the town that I would like to work on, like government structure, the history of the town, NPCs, filling in shops, stuff like that, over the next several streams. I'm going to be calling it here for the day. Hour and a half. I didn't know how long I was going to be going. This is the first stream back that I've done solo since, oh my gosh, it must be at least 2 years. But it was a good stream. I'd like to thank everyone that stopped around. Miri for being there and saying hello, and around the fire, coming in and talking a little bit about D&D. And I will post to my Discord next time I am going to be going live. I don't know how often I will be doing this. This is, like I said at the beginning of the stream, a year-long kind of just project in the background that I've been working on, and in addition to my other content. So hopefully you'll see some videos being made from this content that I will be posting. And I'd like to thank you for watching. Stay inspired, stay excited, and keep fighting.